Do you need a budget that's simple but could also change your life? Well, you've come to the right place. I'm Nathan with Askesis Mindset. Go ahead and hit that subscribe button because we have a ton of free resources coming out to help you on your journey to financial freedom. In this tutorial, we're going to go over the Minimalist Budget Builder, one of my favorites. In the video description below, you'll find a link to the free Google Sheet so that you can follow along. Let's get started.
Before we get started on the Minimalist Budget Builder, I again wanted to thank you for taking the time to invest in your financial future. A really good budget is the baseline for a great financial life. There's two parts to the Minimalist Budget Builder. First, we have spending, and the second is income. On this video, we're just going to focus on spending. You might be told constantly, hey, you need to save more money, save more money. That is true, but spending is only one part of the financial equation. The other part is income. So go ahead and subscribe to our channel so that you can get that income video as soon as it's available. In this video here, we're really going to drill into all of your expenses. We're going to take a forensic look from top to bottom on where is your money going, whether fixed or discretionary, and we're going to question every single dollar going out of your life to make sure that it's serving your long-term goals and future interests. Before you start on this, you're going to want to make your own copy. So go to File, make a copy of this Google Sheet, and then if you go down here to the bottom right, it will bring up the Spending Investigator. Now, I mentioned before, this is my favorite activity. This is the basis for a minimalistic lifestyle. Your expenses mirror your life choices 100%. Now, we might go through this and you might not disagree or agree with me on everything. Hopefully, I get you to think about things in a way that maybe you've never thought about them before, especially when it comes to expenses. But real quick, I'll go through and explain to you how to fill this sheet out. You're going to need to take an hour or two and go through this on your own, get that all filled out, and then we can reconvene and I'll go through an example with you, which is really where the work begins. So in this first column here, you have your expenses. You're just going to name the expense. So for example, if you rent, you're going to put the name of your apartment complex or your landlord or however you identify that expense every single month. The monthly cost, whether that cost is fixed or variable. So for example, rent, we would put as a fixed cost because it's the same every month. Yes, it might change or go up every year, but for right now, it is fixed. Do you put that on auto pay? Yes or no? Then the market rate. So I'll come back to these two in a minute. Market rate and the lowest possible cost. Could you live without it? It's a simple yes or no. You don't need to think into that too much. The question really becomes, would you die if you didn't have it? Is it still needed? Another yes or no. And then I've included a place to put any notes or actions that you might want to take on that expense. So market rate and lowest cost. Let's just start with rent. So let's say you pay $2,000 a month for rent. That's a fixed cost on auto pay. And the market rate, what I'm asking you is, well, what is the average price for that service in the area that you live? Okay. And then the lowest cost option is not going to be the lowest price in your area. It's going to be what is the lowest possible way that that expense could exist in your life. So I am asking you to think of any possible way to get that expense down. If we're talking about living, it could be moving in with parents, renting a bedroom from a friend, or some sort of ad online. What is the lowest possible cost that you could get away with covering that service if You cannot live without it, and you still need it. If you could live without something, the lowest possible cost is 0. Okay. So what I'd like you to do now is just go ahead and pause the video. I want this whole sheet filled out before we come back and reconvene. If you need more space when you get to the bottom, there is an add button here. I would change this from 1,000 rows to maybe 10. You can hit add and it'll populate another 10. So again, go ahead and pause the video here, and then we will come back and go over an example. So we are reconvening now after you have filled out your entire spending investigator. I have gone ahead and created an example here for you. I would like for you to just focus on the example and not your spending sheet while we go through each line item and I talk about ways that you can potentially reduce a cost. In the Askesis mindset, so this is the first resource that we use where we really start adopting the mindset. We want to embrace a life of minimalism. Okay? You do not need to buy something. You don't need more stuff in your life in order to be happy. Okay? What you need is clarity, and you need a plan for your financial future. Okay? That's where true happiness will come from, is that ultimate financial freedom. I don't really know too many people happy working their entire life. Okay. This budget, your budget, is the baseline to financial freedom. Okay. If you cannot budget and you cannot sacrifice and you cannot intentionally remove things from your life now so that you can create opportunities for yourself later, then you will fail to adopt the Askesis mindset. It doesn't mean that you can't use this tool and create a budget, but it will mean that you're probably going to live right around your expenses and you're not going to get ahead. You're not going to get that alpha in order to start accelerating towards financial freedom. So let's go through the example here. First off, we have rent. So in this example, we have a $2,000 monthly cost that this person pays. It is fixed on auto pay. The market rate in their area is $2,200 a month. The lowest possible cost is $600 a month. No, they could not live without it, and yes, they still need it. Okay, so the difference between the market rate and the lowest cost is really where you're going to make those sacrifices. You're going to need to make some difficult and necessary decisions as you go through your budget to minimize expenses as much as possible. Every dollar that you can save now is a compounding 6 cents a year for the rest of your life. So you can pull up the compound interest calculator on the Askesis website and put any dollar amount with monthly contribution in there and see, like, what would a $200 a month change or a $300 a month change do for me over the course of my life? And I think you'd be shocked with the ultimate result. Now, me personally, I want to say that I've always kept my expenses at 25% to 30% of my income. Even now that I've reached financial freedom, I still live significantly below my means. I'm probably at a much lower percentage now because the income portion is so high. All of it is passive income at this point, but I'm still reducing those expenses, the necessary expenses, as much as possible. I will take on additional expenses by choice, but I lived my whole life a very minimalist mindset, and I'm happy. I don't need a whole bunch of stuff to be happy. I don't need 3 more bedrooms. I don't need a more expensive car. I'm just satisfied with what I have. And that's ultimately the goal of the Askesis mindset, is to discipline your mind to a point where it's normal. It's just a part of who you are. It's your nature. There's nothing wrong with it, and you're content with funding your future with the sacrifices that you're making now. Rent, whatever category that you put as rent, maybe you own a house, you have a mortgage, it's most likely your highest expense on your budget. So if you have a mortgage, there's different considerations to account for. Obviously, as interest rates fluctuate, it might be in your financial benefit to refinance, not take any cash out, but refinance. And you can find banks to refinance for very minimal costs. That is something that needs to be shopped, just like everything else. Don't just assume, don't go to your national bank branch and refinance because you're going to pay, 15 to 20,000 in fees. You can find a savings and loan or a credit union where you could probably get a refinance for, a minimal amount of money where, in a few months or a year, you have that payback. Rent is obviously the easiest one to adjust. Most people pay a lot of money for freedom in the sense of they want their own space. It's a non-negotiable. Well, everything's negotiable in the budget. Every single item. There is nothing that should be untouchable. Everything is open for investigation. In this scenario, this person would save, $1,400 a month just by renting a room rather than having their own space. $1,400 a month is a significant amount of money, and it would accelerate the path towards financial freedom immensely. So if you fall into that category, it is something that you have to take a hard look and go, all right, well, for a couple years, I need to sacrifice, and this is what I'm going to do with the money. Okay, you should always have a plan of what you're going to do. You need to understand, like, okay, I will sacrifice, I will do this for this amount of time, and then I will take that money and I'll use it to fund my future by doing X, Y, or Z. Okay. Electric, this is heating, electric, those bills tend to be pretty fixed costs. You can adjust your thermostats. Water, sewer, same thing. You can conserve, but it's most likely not going to be an expense you can eliminate. Internet, in this example, this person pays $90 a month for internet. The market rate's $75. Lowest possible cost is $0 because you could use your phone hotspot. Now, this doesn't apply to everybody. Maybe you work from home, you have to have a stable internet connection. But if you don't, you can start to question these expenses. Same thing with the cell phone. Cell phone is an area I see people overspending on all the time. So this person pays $85 a month. That is the market rate. The lowest cost option is $15. They could not live without the phone because they need it for work. Now, in regards to the cell phone, you can look at Visible through Verizon or Mint, which is through T-Mobile. Both options to significantly lower your cell phone bill. Streaming services is an area where a lot of people, get sucked in. You buy one, before you know it, you have four. How much are you really using for those? Okay? In almost every possible case, you could live without them. And it's just a matter of, do you still need it or not? Could those be consolidated is something else that you can look at. Car payment, this person pays $450 a month. Same thing with the auto insurance. I will go with the car payment. Market rate's $600, and the lowest cost is using public transit for about $150 a month. People are highly emotional about their vehicles. Okay. I never had a vehicle that I used other than as a utility. I didn't have a luxury car. I needed a vehicle that ran and got me from point A to point B. You can have a nice vehicle that gets you from point A to point B that is reliable, that you don't have to spend a ton of money on. You should have it in your head that you're going to have that car for, 10 to 15 years. You drive it until it literally doesn't drive anymore. You keep it well maintained. This is just an area where lifestyle creep will kill you. That every 3 or 4 years, oh, I paid off my car, or I got a promotion at work, or I can trade my car in and the payment stays the same, and, I can get something better. Okay, it's a constant in your face type of advertising. So that's an expense where 75% of you watching this video probably need a vehicle. 25% of you might live in an urban enough area that public transit, trains, scooters maybe become an option for you. Okay. But again, we want to think of, okay, what is the lowest possible cost here, and what could you do about it? Gas for the vehicle, same thing. You could have a more efficient car, and you can drive a little easier and save a little money, but it's going to be a pretty fixed expense. Dining out and Uber Eats, like food delivery, don't even get me started on food delivery. It is never necessary, ever, ever. If you live an intentional life and you are trying to save money, you should never have any bills for food delivery out of convenience. I personally use Walmart Plus to get my groceries delivered because I live in a very high cost of living area, and there's not a affordable grocery store close by, and that saves me a significant amount of money. It also costs $8 a month for that service, so I more than make my money back by using it. However, if I ordered Uber Eats one time from a decent restaurant, it would cost the same as what my groceries do for an entire week. So go through your spending and figure out, what are you spending on dining out and Uber Eats. And this is a very easy area of the budget to learn to say no. You can start disciplining yourself today. Health insurance, this person pays $40 a month. The market rate is $400 a month. The lowest cost option is zero. I'm never going to tell you to go without insurance. This person has the insurance included through their work, and they buy an additional supplement for dental. That's why they pay the $40 a month. Um, I was lucky enough to work jobs. I was a public school teacher for 10 years. They provided me with health insurance. I will say that there were other jobs that I held where, I went without health insurance, especially when I was younger. Looking back, it was probably a pretty foolish thing to do. You're one major expense away from being in debt for the rest of your life. However, just like with everything else, there are lower cost options available. You can find an independent health insurance agent that can give you pricing for private health insurance plans, which are significantly less than ACA plans. This is not any sort of insurance advice, but you should always talk to a professional. And when you're shopping for goods or services, you should, at minimum, get 3 quotes and talk to several different people before you make a decision, especially on higher dollar amount monthly expenses. Prescriptions, this person pays $60 a month. Again, they can ask their doctor about alternatives or research, a healthier lifestyle. Some prescriptions are needed, some are optional. Everybody's case will be different. The gym, this person pays $75 a month. The market rate is $50. The lowest cost is $12. The gym is the one thing I'm going to advocate for you to keep on your budget. but actually to use it. Okay. The gym, after you pay for it, is pretty much free. Yes, it costs gas to go there. You should take that into account when you're getting a gym membership. If you could walk to the gym, that is the best possible thing. But taking care of your mental and physical health will pay you dividends for the rest of your life. So, if you do not have a gym membership, I would highly encourage you to go to some free classes, or take a free trial of a gym near you, and just see if it is something that you could do 3 to 4 days a week for a minimum of 30 minutes. It's going to change many different parts of your life. Mental health benefits are significant. Your physical health benefits are apparent. Is find that time to give yourself the outlet. If you don't want to pay for a gym, so I don't pay for a gym membership right now. However, I have equipment at home, and I also walk, at least 3 to 4 miles a day, which is about an hour. Okay. The best thing that you can do for your health is go for a walk. It's free. So if you're not going to pay for something, at least still think of your body a few times a day. All right, credit card payment. This person has some credit card debt that they pay. Is $275 a month. Call the credit card company. Ask for a plan. Everything is negotiable. Student loan payments, that is not negotiable. Once you have a student loan, it's set. But again, that is an expense that will have to be paid. Personal and self-care. This person spends $195 a month. The market rate's $175. The lowest possible cost is $30 a month. So self-care is one of those gray areas that will, suck money out of your budget, because you have in your head that, oh, I deserve it, or, I earned it. You haven't earned anything until you've reached your long-term goals and your spending is sustainable. Right? And what we deserve isn't really for us to decide in that moment. We all deserve to be financially free, which requires us to minimize expenses, maximize income right now, so that we can fund our future. That's really what you deserve. Could you imagine? I wake up on Monday morning and I'm happy. There's no alarm. I just wake up. What kind of self-care is that? So think about, what are you willing to give up now for freedom later? Clothing, shoes, alcohol, entertainment, travel, savings, 401k. Okay, going through those things, you can tell which ones are you can and can live without. Savings and 401k, those are things that I would absolutely advocate for. However, I would also say that your savings should be, a certain number of months of income, and then everything else should go towards, investments. And while you have that money sitting in savings, you should be doing everything possible to get a return around, whatever the market rate is. Currently, market rates for high yield savings are around 3 to 4%. So that's what you should be getting. If you have $10,000 sitting in 0% interest savings account, the only person you're making wealth for is your bank. It's not doing you any good. Finally, gifts, apps, anything electronic. It is so easy to spend money electronically. And then finally, this person, the example, they give $200 a month to their parents. So, we all have those obligations in life that, maybe we help somebody either less fortunate, or, have somebody that depends on us. I want you to go through this spending investigator and act like it's somebody else. Pretend like you're doing this for somebody else. Just go ahead and cut every expense without caring about their feelings. and come up with the lowest possible monthly cost for that person to live. And again, you want to live a life that is well balanced, healthy. You can't go without car insurance. You're not going to risk getting arrested or being financially in debt if you have an accident, God forbid. Okay. But what is the smartest possible way that you could reduce every single expense as much as possible? And that's what you need to do. So that's the first part of the minimalist budget builder. We specifically focused on spending. I hope that you join us again for the income investigator, which honestly is just as or more important than spending, because you can reduce your monthly expenses only up to a certain degree. Okay? Again, the goal is to save 75% of the money that you make. And if you're watching this video going, how the heck would I save 75%? Well, you need to make more money. Okay? But also, before you do that, your expenses should be as low as possible, because you will hit a floor with your expenses. There's only so much that you can cut from your expenses. Okay? Eating at home every single night, it's going to get old. Meal prep, doing whatever you need to do. Living below your means is a sacrifice and will require you to change your mindset completely. On the other side of that, your income is unlimited. Let me say that again. Your income is unlimited. You can always make more money. So, spending investigator, it happens first. Cut everything as much as possible, and then we're going to focus on income. I hope to see you here again next time. Again, thank you for taking the time to invest in your financial future and creating your spending investigator. I'll see you back here soon.